Well, I'm really excited to be here with Captain Kathleen Johansson, who has written the newest version of the song Come O Burning Spirit Come, or I don't know if I can say this in Swedish, Kum O Helde Anga Kum? No, I've put extra words.
Kom O Helge Ande Kom.
There we go. So
close.
I'm trying my best. Sorry, my Swedish
Very
is
nice.
But
Very nice.
This is really exciting because you put a bit of history to this song in a post you put on Facebook. Apparently this song is, at this point, 138 years in the making. What do you tell us what you understand about the history of this song?
Well, not really much more than what you just said. I know that it's written in the 1800s, and then it was translated into Swedish in the early 1900s, 1912. And the gentleman who translated it in Swedish, he's a known author and lyric writer and very, very wonderful poet. So it makes sense that the lyrics are also very, very beautiful in Swedish. Mm-hmm. Oh, I know that Charles Fry was a very wonderful person in the beginning of the Salvation Army's history, being involved with brass bands and being a bodyguard for William Booth and his friends, and etc. So it's kind of very fun that he's the one who wrote it. And I didn't actually know when I first was singing it and first was writing it that it was him who wrote it. So I had no idea. I had to find out because the original picture that I'd seen of the lyrics didn't have the author written there.
Oh, okay.
Found all that out after.
So where did you see that picture that kind of inspired you to start writing this? How did that story kind of evolve?
Yes, well, Major Stephen Court from your territory, Canada, Bermuda, he writes, I don't know if he does it at the moment, but regularly, Holiness Meeting fodder on his Facebook page, a picture or a copy of a holiness song from the Salvation Army more often. And he put that up, and what happens for me then, when I don't automatically recognize the text or therefore the melody, I just start kind of reading it. And then what happened with this particular song is I read it, and as I was reading it, the melody came to my head, this one that now has become a melody. And I thought, oh, maybe I do recognize it, maybe it's already existing. And so I looked it up and tried to find how the melody goes, and that wasn't at all how he wrote it, Charles Fry. So I'm thinking maybe I wrote that melody, maybe that came out of my head. And it turns out that it did. So that was very strange. So as soon as that kind of happened, I get my phone out and just quickly recorded into the recorder on the phone. And what happened then was that at the time I was living in the south of Sweden, and we were actually waiting to come to Bulgaria. So we had left our previous appointment, and we had actually in the end around 2 months of time waiting. So we were put on kind of casual duty, so to speak, at the nearest corps. But we weren't really working. We were just literally waiting. They could have called up the next day and said, now you're on a plane, so we didn't know. We were waiting. Wow. So I spent a lot of time on the piano in the corps building, just playing and going through the Salvation Army Swedish songbook and just having a nice time. And I actually found the Swedish version of the song by accident. So I didn't, because I didn't know. Normally, if I know the author of a song, you can look it up in the back of the Swedish songbook, look up the author, see which songs they've written, go and find the songs, see if they're the same. In this case, I didn't know who had written it, so I wasn't looking for it, but I was just going through the pages of the songbook and recognized the words, and I thought, hang on, that's the same words, that's the same meaning of this other song, Kom O Helge Ande Kom, Come O Burning Spirit Come. And I thought, oh, that's the song. And that's how I then eventually knew that it was Charles Fry who wrote it, and awesome. This other guy who translated it and stuff. So that was also a very wonderful blessing that it kind of happened by accident like that. And then the whole rest of the process with writing the song and kind of giving it a final version, so to speak. And I even got help from a friend just to make sure the chords worked, because I'm not very clever like that. Was all in Swedish then. So every time I sang it after that was in the Swedish version in my head.
What does it mean for the Swedish territory to be able to have this song in Swedish rather than in English necessarily, and have to worship in their second language?
I think that's exactly what you said at the end, the second language. I mean, if you can imagine trying to worship God in another language, That's how hard it is sometimes for people to sing in English in Sweden. So very many young people, anyone younger than 50, 60 maybe in Sweden, can understand English, can speak enough to get by, can perhaps even read quite well. But most of those people, I would assume you would say, would still be reading the Bible in Swedish all the time, still worshipping primarily in Swedish, because it's what we we'll refer to it as, it's your heart language. It's what it's what's inside you. So when I think about this song and other songs that are in Swedish, especially songs that are written in Swedish and not translated, especially those, but even those that are translated from English, they're just so much more meaningful. You can't even put a description on it, really, because of course a person who understands English can sing in English and worship God in English. There's no problem with that. But when it comes to where your heart is and where your relationship with God is at its essence, then that's more often than not in your native language. It just is that way. So it means more than you could imagine. I mean, I know in Canada you've got French also, so part of the population at least is bilingual or probably tri or quadruple lingual. They would be able to say the same thing, I think. Whichever language you learned first is probably the one where you most feel at home. And then if you don't speak French, if you don't speak German or another language, Swedish, you can't even imagine trying to worship God in another language.
So you submitted this beautiful song through the SA Worship Magazine's song search. A lot of people might be kind of a bit timid or a bit shy to put themselves out there for a song search. How did your process go for writing, but then also for submitting, and what encouragement might you be able to give to other people who are thinking about putting something out there like this?
Oh, that's a good question. I think for me personally, this song search came up in my Facebook feed just at the right time. So it was less about kind of should I, shouldn't I? It was more like, oh, this song just came to me this week or something. And then I see this song search thing. And my first thought was actually, wouldn't it be cool if they would produce it in Swedish too? Like that was really at that point I thought, we don't have this type of competition or song search thing happening in Sweden at the moment, at least. Maybe they can be inspired by you.
Yeah.
But I thought, actually the Salvation Army world needs music, new music all the time. So for me, it was just like, yeah, of course. And yeah, I got help with the chords, because for me, like I had put something together. I had kind of played it out on the piano, but I'm not really good with music theory necessarily, and I didn't know really whether it was sounding as good as it could. And for me, I thought it sounded boring, to be honest. That was what my way of referring to it. It was like, this is just boring. No one's going to want to listen to it. It doesn't have anything kind of poppy or interesting or different or nice. It's just boring. So that's what I said to my friend Dana, like, can you just make it interesting? And it turned out from us working together that she didn't actually change a lot in the end. It was like, yeah, this is actually nice as it is. You just need to kind of believe in yourself as I mean, and she put some of the bass chords on. And shifted around the order of some things, and then I shifted them back, and we kind of worked to and fro with that stuff. So she was very, very helpful. But really in the end, it was mostly just me having to believe in myself. So I think if anything, that's my advice to people is, if you've got something, and especially in a case like this where it felt like this is just a gift from God, this is nothing I've come up with myself, it's just kind of happened to me, I have to share it. It's not mine to keep, it's mine to share. So be brave, dare to share, and believe that it's worth it. That's kind of what I would say.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great advice.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much. I apologize.
No worries.
And thank you so much for sharing this with the Army world. Really, it's exciting.
My pleasure.
I'm just excited for people to be able to use this song to focus on God, and to really come forward and ask for that burning spirit to be more part of their lives, to really yearn for the Spirit's leading and his influence in their lives. And I think this is a beautiful way that's part of our history as Salvationists, right back to Charles Fry and the start of our music, and to be continuing that heritage is a really great thing to be able to do. So I think a lot of people are going to appreciate this, and so thank you very much.
Thank you for the opportunity and all the work, the hard work put into it. It's amazing. I'm really, really thankful for the opportunity.
Kom, o helge ande, kom, nu vi bidar dig allen. Låt oss se din härlighet, som är Faderns återsken. Kom, o helge ande, nu, verka mäktigt bland oss du. Tillfredsställ vår själs begär, du som elden sa